Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I do reviews and reactions to things on the news, celeb news, TV shows, things like that. Tonight, I am doing a review on the latest episode of The Bachelor. Wow, I have my notes right here, and there's things that I'm even kind of shocked about that I didn't write down. First off, I guess spoiler, Brittany left, the girl who Anna was claiming was an escort due to notes that she got back from Chicago. I didn't even notice her leave, but it wasn't until more time had elapsed that I was like, oh my god, where's Brittany? So I had to search her name on Twitter, and people were complaining that she got eliminated despite all the drama associated with her. And I'm like, oh, like, did he just really not feel her? I was just actually shocked. But anyways, let me go in chronological order because, again, I don't know when that happened, but sorry that I didn't include that in my notes. I just had to put that there before I forgot. Immediately, all the girls, excluding MJ and Jasenia, are discussing the drama with them too and kind of just seeing like where's gonna go, and ultimately kind of just aware that only one of them could stay, and obviously one of them will have to be eliminated. There's no way that both of them could stay because there's either gonna be drama and clashing or that one of them is lying. So it's kind of just more down to Matt being able to decipher who's lying about the situation. Matt walks in to try and resolve the issues despite them bickering and try and resolve everything going on. He first talks to Jasenia and then pulls MJ to the side. Their stories are not aligning with each other at all. They just got to agree to disagree. That's the right way to say it. And ultimately, Matt gives the rose to Jasenia and sends MJ home. MJ is distraught, as any girl is, if you kind of almost assume that you're in the right and that he's not going to believe the other girl. And she's just like, I was shocked that happened. I'm shocked that he believed her. I'm shocked that it took all of that to take me out. Because it wasn't even like he eliminated her because there was no attraction or there was no sexual chemistry there. He admitted that. He's like, yeah, like, I really feel a lot for you. And I don't really see anything bad in you. Like, I haven't seen anything bad. But obviously with that information he's been receiving from everyone about there being bullies, he had to take that in consideration and then ultimately eliminate her. Jasenia went into the house with all the girls sitting there, and she's just really giddy and smiling in like a smirky kind of way. I'm like, yikes, like, I get you're feeling well, but I just don't know if I'd come in with that kind of striding and like, you know, like, yeah, he picked me and eliminated her. But again, if it is true, MJ was being a bully, so good for her. But it came in kind of like, to me, in the tone, and the girls are kind of like shocked that she ended up leaving. And then Chris Harrison pulls up. He pulls up to tell them, hey girls, by the way, Matt is very exhausted by everything that's going on, and that he's just going to cancel the cocktail party and that they're just going to move forward to the rose ceremony. Obviously, this is bad news for the girls if they haven't talked to him in like days or so, and like he's just kind of basing it off of maybe interactions from a week ago or maybe like the last date, and they haven't had time to really talk to him and reconfirm like their feelings. So it does really suck for the people who have not had that much time. So it kind of gets down to the ceremony, and that's, I'm assuming, when Matt eliminates Brittany. It had to be then because that's when they leave typically. What was random to me is that Serena C targeted / added Katie, saying that it's like her fault that a lot of drama has been happening, and if it wasn't for her opening her mouth and exposing the drama that's going on, they wouldn't have the situation. And to me, it was kind of like almost ill timing, because the drama that was going on was between MJ and Jasenia, but then Serena was blaming Katie, even though I know like it is kind of ultimately Katie because she's kind of been bringing everything to light, but in that moment it wasn't her. So I was surprised that she was mentioning Katie's name. It seemed more personal than anything. The next morning, Chris Harrison gives a rundown to the girls and lets them know, hey, like, we are literally steamrolling through the season and the hometowns are gonna be soon, the overnight, so just letting you know that time is gonna be of the essence and to, like, I guess, buckle down. So ultimately there's gonna be only 2 one-on-ones with this episode and then 2 group dates. We learned that Piper gets the one-on-one after all the crying that she had in the previous episode. I wasn't really aware of Piper's name until last episode when she was having like a breakdown about not getting her time, and now she's getting it, so that's good for her. Next, we see Serena C going to Katie's room to confront her about her thoughts. She said she was frustrated by Katie's antics and that she isn't here for Matt, and Katie was just caught off guard. It was like, I thought you were gonna come here with an apology, but you're coming here attacking me. Okay, cool, I'm kind of tapped out from this. And they're just going back and forth, and everyone downstairs can hear them screaming, yelling, screaming, bantering, you know. And eventually they kind of just don't agree on anything. It was just like a really bad argument, to the point that Serena comes down and tells the girls like, yeah, we were arguing, and she just wasn't admitting to anything, and like she got up and walked off, so that just means that she knows that I'm in the right. So then Katie walks in and Serena stops talking, and then like they kind of confront each other. Again, I'm like, all right, so we just have a lot of people just butting heads. It's girls all fighting for the love of this one man, and we're just having more of attacking fights more than actual connection. Because I'm like, who is he really, really into at this moment? Because Some people are getting camera time, people are getting eliminated left and right. So it's kind of really hard to see who he's really in and really hard to gauge who could be the winner. Lord, these girls are really at each other this season. But even after the argument, Kit was like, I don't even understand why Serena's pissed. I'm here for Matt and that's all I'm caring about. And Serena's just kind of causing issues with Katie out of nowhere. Couldn't be me. I don't care. I have bigger things to worry about. It's kind of like her mantra on this. And then the part that annoyed me and maybe other viewers, Heather Martin, I have a question mark, I don't know who she is, shows up in a van without a mask and without proof of a negative COVID test. And we're just supposed to assume the producers have nothing to do with this. I'm trying to imagine like a random person knowing the location of the Bachelor, like where it's being filmed, and two, not having a mask during this time and not even like, oh, here's like, we're in COVID still. This was filmed during COVID. So how is she pulling up with no mask on, no test, no one's asking anything? So I was like, okay. And she claims that Hannah Brown told her a lot about Matt. So she kind of started to like him and wanted to come for that. Girl, it has been weeks. You just came in out of nowhere when the drama was finally dying down and now we need more drama again. And Chris Harrison comes up and they're talking from a distance and neither of them have masks on. Even though it's probably well over like 10 to 20 feet distance between them, neither of them had a mask, only the producers, the camera people, and the guy who was letting her in. And Chris Harrison ultimately was like, hey, I can't really say yes now. Like, you need to quarantine. I need to talk to people. Like, this isn't like something that can happen overnight. Like, we need to discuss this. You've caught us all off guard. And apparently she's from Colton season. Didn't watch The Bachelor back then. If you've been watching my reviews, my first Bachelor Nation experience was last season with Clare and Tayshia. And now this is my second one. So I know nothing about her. It just seems like a very minimal plot to just create more drama. And the house is getting kind of dry somewhat. At night, Matt and Piper drive to have their one-on-one date. They have like a mini fair / carnival just to them. And I'm instantly reminded I have not gone to a fair since like 2019, but that's besides the point. And they have like the whole section to themselves. And that's like, wow, like you have a whole fair carnival to yourselves. I think that's like a nice ass date because you don't have to deal with no lines, crowded people, having to push past people, even though I know it's like a date and it's a TV show. That's like a nice experience just like to have like ever. But you know, they had a little time, they had a little one-on-one, they're kissing, they're having a good moment. So things are going, it seems like sparks are flying for them. So good for them. Next, we see Bree, Kit, Rachel, Michelle, Serena P, Abigail, Chelsea, and Serena C get called for the group date, which means that Katie gets the one-on-one date. Serena C makes a snide comment about how I was like, well, I hope I eventually get my one-on-one time because I haven't really talked to him. Girl, like, it's interesting that it's now that she's making a snide comment when it's Katie who's got the one-on-one date because they obviously have their little drama going on right now. And then they're kind of like making comments to each other about each other, but not talking to each other because obviously there's that rivalry for whatever reason. But it's like, okay, like I get it. When you don't get on it, those frustrations start to fly, but like channel your energy somewhere else. It's at Matt who's deciding whether you get that one-on-one, not the girls. So just figure out where you're trying to direct your energy at. Piper and Matt's date continue, and I'm not gonna lie, I spaced out. It was just kind of like, yeah, cool, it's cute, whatever, it's a date, they're talking, they're getting emotional. But eventually she says that like she's falling for him. They go to this little like section where like an artist of some sort or band is performing. I know that they have this every season, but I don't even know who they were. But it was cute and they're like dancing / kissing. I'm like, okay, yeah, like they're having a good date. So looks like things are good for Piper. That's all I'm gonna really report on that because yeah, it was the fair, that, and then boringness for me. Gradually throughout the episode, we progressively see more and more clips of Heather quarantining and going stir crazy from being in her room for like a week is what we're assuming the time is from since she pulled up with her van, and she's just like, in the room, can't wait to see Matt. Like, she was just getting very chaotic in the sense of the clips, and I guess that's just supposed to be enticing for us to see what happens if she gets in the house or when she does. And I was like, okay, let's just wrap up these clips, but they're kind of staggered throughout the episode. We see the group date and they arrive at a bowling alley. While they're there, Chris Harrison pulls up and is like, hey, there's a group of you 9, but we're gonna split it in half, and whoever wins gets like a little cocktail date in the other half, so it's like 4 have to go back to the house. So it's more competitive and things like that. Ultimately, a group of 4 won, and it was Chelsea, Jasenia, Michelle, and Serena P. And the ones that go back are really upset, and Abigail is a part of that group, and she's kind of expressing her frustrations in regards to having the first impression rose on the first night, and then hardly getting little to no time with Matt. So I can only imagine that like you start on a really high at the beginning of the season just to kind of be almost overlooked. But she has lasted this long, so obviously she's still here for a reason, but I do get that because like you're competing against 20-ish girls, 10-ish girls after some time. Like, it's just really hard. So I do understand, but sheesh, it's getting kind of intense now. But after the girls kind of had their like crying session, but almost not crying session, Chris Harrison comes with another envelope to the girls who were just kicked off from the group date and like, hey, plot twist, Matt actually feels really bad for sending you guys back. You guys can come back again. So it's like, good for them. But then the girls who won are probably like, oh, it's only us four, and now I have to compete with other 5 people, if that makes sense. Now it's a bigger group and harder to stand out. So when they pulled up, the girls are kind of like, what are you doing here? Matt's like, hey, I invited them. I just kind of wanted to give them more time to talk with me. This is the big moment for Bachelor Nation if you were a really big stan. Tyler Cameron from Hannah Brown season shows up. He's Matt's best friend, I guess, in real life, and he's there just to be there and have a cameo and also just give him advice on The Bachelor because Tyler's actually competed in it versus this is Matt's first time ever being on it and also being The Bachelor, so he can learn some things from him, I guess. I'm pretty sure they probably had this discussion before the season started. But besides that, they're catching up, having their bro time, giving advice to each other, things like that. And then we see Matt go on his one-on-one date. It was just kind of filler for the episode. They have like a prank date where Tyler C's doing something and they're watching on like a camera and like trying to do silly, funny things to make us laugh. Wasn't that funny? So ultimately we see that they had like a jokester side with each other, but do they have that chemistry and like sexual attraction is what like is yet to be discovered. So after that date, they go out to go and like have a little dinner and like talk a little bit more. Matt reflects on his time with Katie, but decides that he's not giving her a rose. He said that his relationship with the other women in the house have progressed further than him and Katie. And I've been saying this, that's literally what he said, but I've been saying this for the past couple of reviews I've done on the show. I don't have anything against Katie. I actually really like her. I'm glad that Katie stood up for the other women because it's really hard being bullied and being bullied on TV and no one really standing up for you. So I'm glad that she was able to stand in for that. But I feel like I feel like she let that be her ultimate role in the house and didn't have any time with Matt, wasn't building the relationship, wasn't being romantic. Like it was just girl power, go power, but like no her and Matt when she was there for herself and Matt. So she was focused more on like helping these other women, which is really amazing. Not really focusing on Matt. So I feel like that was ultimately her downfall. I'm not really sure if they would have had chemistry or an attraction with each other, but I feel like that was like the death of her time there, which really sucks. But she did make it relatively far considering that like they didn't have that much time with each other together. But obviously if they had this one-on-one time with no one else, no distractions, and he eliminated her, it was probably like something he's been thinking about for a minute. After we see Katie leave, confused as hell, we see Heather pull up. She pulls up in her little minivan, if that's even hers. She walks out in her nice ass dress, and the girls who are facing like the entrance can see her and they're like, oh my god, who is that? And she kind of walked in like as if she knew where to go. I was very confused. So she walks in, passes the girls, goes to the room directly. I'm like, they just gave you directions like that? Anyways, so she walks in and she cuts off Piper and Matt, who were having one-on-one time. She's like, hey, can I have a chance to talk with Matt? And Matt's like laughing in a way that like he either knew who she was or maybe he's just laughing at the fact that the season's just overwhelming as hell. So Piper gets up and excuses herself and they have their time together, Heather and Matt. What was very weird to me is that she said, one, nice to meet you, but then they both had each other's hands on each other's knees. So it's like, do you know her then? And like also there's like a new girl who's been here for 5 seconds and you're already kind of like intimate in a way, and the whole touching things. I don't really ever rest my hand on a guy's knee that I don't know, or that like we're meeting for 5 seconds when he's been dating like 30 other girls for like the past weeks. So super weird on that aspect, but we don't know what happens. Like, is he gonna keep her? So the girls are in hysterics. We're having all these new girls being dropped in all the time, taking their places apparently. I don't really like where this is going in regards to her. I don't think we needed that nonsense going on, but of course you need something to be enticing of some sort to keep the season going on a high momentum. But Lord, I just was not expecting that. So we're kind of just gonna see what happens and who leaves, and hopefully I'll be able to catch who leaves and not miss it like I missed Brittany being eliminated. So let me know what you think of the season thus far, what's your predictions, and what you thought of this review. But see you on the next video. Bye!